Okay.
What's this?
I have another GPS that I carry there, kind of a guest
mount.
GPS. It's a ramp mount, yeah. And I'm thinking maybe I might use it to hold my phone or something too.
Okay.
I really never need, it's a level of redundancy.
Yeah.
I could lose this entirely. And while I would lose airspeed and altitude and all that stuff, I don't need it in this airplane. This airplane just flies very intuitively, and I've got
I practice covering that stuff up.
288 hours in it, yeah. So I don't worry that too much. But what I would lose is the GPS, and I do need the GPS. And I mean, to get to Portsmouth and back, I don't. But in general, it's nice to have the GPS, so I have the redundancy there. Plus, for other pilots that are flying, they like to fiddle around with it. It's a little iFly. Have you ever seen those little iFly 720s or whatever that is?
Oh, okay,
so it's just a cute little thing that sits there. And that's my entire redundancy. This big red light, if it lights up, which it does when it gets really cold, is telling me that the spar pins are in. If it lights up, it means you forgot to put in a spar pin, which is very hard to do. But when it gets really cold, one of these things doesn't like it, and a thing comes on. So this is an override switch. I can turn around and look. I can just feel those pins. I can feel that the pins are there, so I know I can just override that if I need to, so I'm not stuck somewhere.
Interesting.
Only ever happens in the winter. It's weird. Here's my traffic display. So as you'd expect, a couple things out of OSU.
Yeah, I bet you today they're flying like crazy.
Yeah, everybody would be that could be. Anyway, it's not at work, really. Trim keeps
electric trim?
Yeah, which I'm okay with it, but I'm okay with it. It got really fast. When I installed the autopilot, when you first install the autopilot, it doesn't have these. So all the buttons are down in here. You have to fish for all the buttons,
look at that.
which is kind of painful. You know, you have to go down to autopilot. I want to do roll. I want to do heading, right? Yeah. So here you have all those buttons and knobs. So here I can change my track.
Oh, there's your bug.
Yes, my altitude bug. So let's say 30. Let's say we're going to go 35. I might as well preset that. And then this is altimeter. This is all autopilot stuff.
Nice.
Prior to this, what's also built into this was something, the autopilot logic is built into the Skyview.
Okay.
All you have to buy are the optional servos, $750 each. There's two of them. So I have a $1,500 autopilot with altitude pre-select, vertical speed select, nav, heading, all that stuff. It's full function autopilot for $1,500.
Now this doesn't have approach mode since it's not IFR?
Not IFR. Right. I could plug anything into it, a Garmin 430 or whatever. I could do that. This did not have auto trim, so it wasn't really an autopilot. I'd be flying along, and it's like, oh man, now it wants down trim, it wants up trim, it wants down trim. This adds auto trim. Now, I've talked to dining people before and said, why don't you, because not everybody wants these buttons. They were a bitch to put in, as you can tell, because the panel was already built. I had to cut that hole out. Why don't you just sell a little auto trim module for a couple $100? I guarantee you'd sell 1,000 of them, but they won't do it. So now I have a true autopilot,
which is nice.
I didn't really think I would use it much, but the airplane is so light, I actually do use it quite a bit. It's actually warm enough. Yeah, it's cold enough. I'm going to go ahead and close this. There we go. Now we're latched in. So we got, actually, by the time we get down the runway, we'll have our 120 degrees, so I'll go ahead and give them a holler. Bolton ground, experimental 284 Delta Golf at the T hangars, ready to taxi, departing via far southbound. I think they're open today.
Experimental 284 Delta Golf, Bolton ground, not in sight, to runway 22, taxiways Bravo and Alpha, wind 180 at 6, altimeter 3026.
Taxi Bravo and Alpha to 22, Delta Golf. 066, okay, I was pretty close on that. 026, blink, blink, there we go. You have air vent down there if you need it. I'm going to go ahead and punch mine open a little bit. Call those the air sickness detectors. That comes from a guy named Arnett Howard and what I call the Creole defunct band, because it turned out they weren't paying any taxes. But I was flying him along, and he's a very deep-spoken fellow, and we're flying along. He said, Dave, I need a little air. I said, we're doing 180 miles an hour. If you don't have enough air, that's telling me you're getting sick. He said, well, that's true. I've got to, so we had to land. But ever since then, I've called those the air sickness detectors. That guy back there has an RV6, took him 18 years to build. He never flies it anymore.
Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about, what's his name? Yeah, I know Daryl. Shit, I should have said hey to him. Yeah, I was supposed to take him flying here as soon as I...
Yeah, he's the reason I have that engine hoist in the hangar.
Yeah, Daryl's a good guy.
Well...
he's fun.
We had a disagreement.
I've sold his daughter and son-in-law a couple of houses and stuff, and that's how I ended up meeting him.
Yeah. He's not a bad guy, but we had I had a SB. I had to pull the engine. I didn't have an engine hoist. He knows lots of people, and he's got a guy who lives next door to him that used to do a lot with cars. So I've gone over there and used his hydraulic press. And I called Daryl and said, I need an engine hoist. I mean, does your neighbor have one? He said, yeah, sure, I'll bring it on over. So he gets on a trailer, brings it on over, we push it in there. Sat in there for about 6 weeks till I was done with it. I thought I better get rid of this thing. So I called him and said, I'm ready to send that hoist back. And he says, well, that's on you. So I just delivered it. I'm the one who did you a favor. I delivered it. I'm going to take it back. I said, oh, okay. Thinking that would have been nice to know 6 weeks ago because I have no way of moving that thing. So I let it go. It's like, okay, he's got a point. And it sat there for 6 more weeks, and I got to feeling really bad about it. So I called the neighbor guy, and said, listen, I'm having a hell of a time getting this thing back to you. You're not really working on the cars like you used to. How about if I just buy it off of you? He said, that'd be great. So now I have an engine hoist, which is not a bad thing to have.
No, it isn't.
I am not complaining. It's just an interesting story about how I got an engine hoist. And old Daryl, what's funny is Daryl, last time I saw him, says, you need me to bring that hoist back still? No, I took care of it. We're good.
You call.
Thanks for nothing.
That's awesome.
Well, he is a nice guy. I don't know if he was in a mood or if he was just joking with me. I mean, benefit of the doubt. He's always been very friendly to me. So
yeah, he's just sometimes short and
well, maybe I caught him at a bad time or whatever. It's no big deal. Like I said, I'm happy to have the thing. I paid $150 for it, which is a nice price.
And delivered.
Yeah, and already delivered. Yeah. Yeah, and I'll loan it out. Anybody needs it. I put on Facebook for the Bolton Airport Flyer. Anybody needs it, let me know because I'm happy to loan it out. Now your run up here is going to look a bit interesting because we're going to do it at 4,000 RPM.
Oh, really? Yeah, because the road tax, right?
Right. That's a nice smooth engine. Not especially loud. So what we look for here is, your normal mag drop. So
where's the RPM at?
It's right here.
Oh, there it is.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
That's the thing about this. Now I could get in somebody else's RV12 and it would all be different because you just move things around the way you like them. So for a flight school, they would have to lock it down just to keep people from moving it around. Here's another thing. I got a 20-gallon fuel tank, but the gauge can only show 15 because the float can't go all the way up to the back of the tank.
So it'll go down to 15 if it'll still read 15. Okay.
When it hits, when the float starts acting, it'll.
Okay.
But what I do is I fill it all the way up, so I know I'm at 20. Or I keep it at less than 15 because.
Well, just say you got a 5-gallon emergency reserve.
One way of looking at it, and that'll take me 100 miles.
There, true.
I'm only 4.5 to 5 an hour, so it's really easy. So I can tell we're good on the oil both by looking here. We're up to 135, and the yellow segment has gone from being all the way up to here down to just that little.
Oh, because it's warming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it doesn't force you to stay there, but it's a good indication that you should.
That's nice.
Okay, I want to go over to the tower. I got to make sure I'm paying attention to what I'm doing here. We're going to check this latch. I checked this latch about 3 or 4 times.
2 miles.
We're on tower. The other thing I have to check is make sure I got the fuel pump fuse in.
Delta, runway 4, clear to land.
Runway 4? He sent me to 2-2. We're going to be waiting. I take the fuel pump fuse out because when I turn on the master to load up new data or whatever, it's cranking that fuel pump. I got to remember to always make sure I got that
makes sense.
How far out was that guy? Was he ILS?
2 miles.
Oh, we might be able to go, but I'm kind of doubting it. We're ready. I'm going to give him a holler and let him know we got a foot in the game here. Old Tower, experimental 284 Delta Golf, ready for takeoff, runway 22, departing VFR southbound.
Experimental 284 Delta Golf, Bolton Tower. Hold short, runway 22. Just another moment, have opposite direction traffic landing, runway 4 on short final.
Yeah, I see him.
4 Delta Golf.
I see him.
Yeah, you're required to return that call. So yeah, it's no problem. Sometimes you can squeeze out. I didn't know how far out he was. Got nice wing lights.
Yeah.
Makes them easy to see. There's a $1,500 kit to put a wing light in out there, and position lights if you're going to fly it at night. They didn't do it when you were thinking LSA. Back in the LSA days, it didn't matter, but now it does. I don't want to spend $1,500 on lights because I don't fly at night, but I would like to have something out there that would flash. I would love something that would flash, so it make me easier to see. But
I like the strobes at night on a snow cover night. You see the strobes bouncing back off the snow.
What always bothered me, I had a Tampico, and it had the same thing as this, a kind of a rollover piece of plexiglass, and I'd be flying along, and it would reflect ground lights. And it would be, what was that? What was that?
I hate that.
Man, that guy just missed me. What was that?
Yeah.
I never got over that. And now I've gotten where my night vision is so deplorable, I don't even like driving a car at night. I don't know. I mean, I could put the lights in, but it's kind of spendy because it's not part of my mission. I don't really do
I love flying
long
at
trips. I am considering taking us back down to
14
Florida.
Delta, exit Alpha 2, and you may taxi to the ramp.
Oh, he's
via
coming all the way up
Alpha
here.
And Bravo, monitoring ground point 8 on the way in.
Try using your brakes for crying out loud. I mean, you don't need a mile to land a Piper.
No, he might have came in fast. He was a little high, I thought.
Yeah,
It's hard to judge.
Was that or drunk? I can't tell which.
Yeah, he was a little high, so you probably.
Yeah, you know these legalization laws are scary.
That's right. Yeah, no doubt.
He's looking. I've
Look
never
at
used
that.
that much runway. Wow. Well, take your time there, boss. Oh boy,
It's nice looking plane.
it is nice. I
Terminal
like it.
284 Delta Golf, sorry for the delay. Runway 22, clear for takeoff, southbound departure approved.
Clear for takeoff, southbound departure approved. Don't mind the wait, 4 Delta Golf. You know, when your other choice is dying.
Right, there you're right.
But you know, I easily could have taken off over him even when he was on the runway. Now you're a little more weight than I'm used to, and we got full tanks, but I'm still going to be off by 1,000 feet or so. Takes next to nothing. Takeoff is stick full back. Reason I do that is 1, lift the nose wheel. 2, once I feel pressure on the stick back, I know I can start steering with the rudder. There we go. Now I can steer with the rudder.
Ah,
I don't have to be using the brakes.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
And boy, you're heavy.
Yeah.
Oh God, you weigh a ton.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. Man, that was almost the end of the runway. I'm amazed at. Well, they got a 100 horsepower engine on a 750-pound airplane, and you had a 120 knot speed limit because back in the LSA, right? So they had all this power, but they didn't want it to go to speed, so they put it into lift. So this thing just climbs. I mean, we're 86 knots at 1,200 foot per minute. I'm sorry, 600 foot per minute.
It's nice.
So yeah, 85 knots, full load, 600, 700 foot per minute. I get into a Cessna now and I think there's something wrong with it. It's like, why isn't it climbing?
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's not a good climber.
All right, I'm gonna close my vent a little bit. You can do whatever you want on yours, it doesn't affect me.
What pitch is on the prop on this one?
I have it in degrees, but it doesn't matter. It's set to at full throttle, not red line. So to go up to about 54, red line is 5,500. You can go to 5,800 for 5 minutes or something like that. I don't need it. I'd rather have a cruise prop. So I have it to where I can have it on the autopilot, flying level at full throttle, and if I get into a updraft where it's pointing the nose down, I don't red line. It'll get up to 5,500, maybe 56, but it won't go red line. And it's a lot less hassle. You know, I just don't have to worry about overspeed. And it's going to go as fast as it can go. And it's not hard to adjust them, really. It's just when you adjust one, you have to adjust the other. There's a little digital scale you got to put in there because you're trying to get within 1/10 of a degree of keeping them even. And as you tighten them up, they'll move a little bit. So it's kind of a fidgety job. And if you don't get them even, you'll feel it. You'll get a vibration. And normally you don't get much vibration out of this engine. The other thing you'll get vibration from is you got 2 carburetors in there. And throughout a year, they'll slowly drift out of sync. So they're not making the same power on both sides. So you got to get in there, you got to balance. It's like balancing carbs on a motorcycle. It's the exact same thing. So you do that once a year and it'll smooth it out. If you feel it getting rough, you may go ahead and do it early. It's not hard to do, it's just time consuming. But it's a nice smooth airplane. You want to fly it? Your airplane.
I have the controls.
This is your GPS course right here. There's not a lot of wind. We got 7 knots on the nose, so you're not even going to have to do a lot of wind correction. Take us up to about 35 or whatever you're comfortable with.
And this is the altimeter?
Altimeter's right there. We don't really need this, so one thing I could do is that.
Oh yeah, that's nice. I like that.
Actually, if you can fly off the HSI, the other thing you can do is this.
Yeah,
You're
that's
gonna be able to fly off
nice.
an
I like
HSI.
that,
Yeah, let's
actually.
do that then. I've got a flight director. If I'll dial up to, what did I say? We want to go to 3,500? So let's put our altitude at 35. And let's put on the flight director. And tell we want altitude and nav. Now all you gotta do is follow the purple lines.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know what a flight director is, and this is another beef I have with Dynan. You don't get the flight director unless you buy the autopilot servo.
Right.
Now, I could see a need for this with or without the servos, because like when I fly out of Burke Lakefront, and if it's a choppy day and I'm under that Class Bravo, I don't trust the autopilot, but I do trust the flight director. So I am nailed on that flight director when I'm in that kind of situation. I'm just following that religiously. But for some reason they won't do it. They don't think people would use it, or they don't want to give it away. I don't know which, but it seems to me it's a handy thing for anybody who would want it. I can give you more vertical speed.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm just going about nice 500 foot. I don't want to warm up the engine.
There you go. Oh, I didn't ask it to follow vertical speed. That's why. There you go. Now you've got that too. So if I crank this up, it's not following. But the flight director would do that. Did tell her, right? Oh no, I guess I didn't. There we go. There it is.
Dude.
So you can do some turns and such, get a feel for it. It's very light. It's really, you don't really move the stick. It's more of a pressure thing. On the stall, I guarantee you a right wing drop no matter what you do.
Really?
It's going to drop the right wing in the stall. It's actually, if you let off the controls and it's perfectly balanced, it'll drift off to the left a little bit. I've not been able to get it. But it doesn't do really any good to chase it because the fuel load is always changing, passenger load is always changing, so I just stick with it. And the autopilot doesn't care. I can let the autopilot fly it if I get lazy. Which happens. You can't beat it for visibility. Even photography. On the RV6, the wing was another foot forward, so your view down was a wing. Now I get almost straight down. And I take a lot of pictures. You know, I'll kick on the autopilot. I expect to see that, about 1 amp a charge. When you start seeing that charging a whole lot, or going negative, you're losing your voltage regulator. Which
is that normally 1?
Yeah, that means the battery's fully charged. That's just the load that's on it right now, which is very, very little. I have all I have loading on it right now is this and this. So it's very light load. Electrical load.
If you don't mind, I'm going to try Dutch rolls. That's okay.
All right.
I just want to see how she does.
I got sick bags.
Nice. That's nice.
My favorite thing, here, I'll take it, is like,
it's yours.
You got a CFI and he wants you to do the steep bank 360.
Okay.
That enough?
Wow.
Take it back.
That's awesome.
It's really, really responsive.
No shit.
The only thing it isn't is aerobatic. The 6 was aerobatic.
It almost feels like it wants to, though.
It wants to. It's very, very, I just don't. It's not stressed for it.
That's okay.
But it would do it'd do a 360 in about a second and a half. I mean, it turns like a Pitts.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I bet.
It's fun. Now, the other thing, this would have been in the 6. I was having a BFR out at Madison County, and he pulled, he says, I'm going to pull the engine on you. I said, well, go ahead. And he says, well, it's kind of early. I said, no, I'll do it. And he says, well, you're not going to be able to get down from here. You're way too high. Watch me. Hold my beer.
Right.
The thing already, it didn't drop like a brick, but it dropped enthusiastically. But you put in a forward slip, and it came down. And you let it out of the slip, and it was right away. I mean, it was just like stopping an elevator. There you are. And he was like, that's amazing. I used to do touch and goes in the length of Bolton's runway.
Oh my God.
I never left the length of when the tower was closed. I mean, I'm off, around, and down, off, around, and down. Never left the length of the runway. This one could probably do that too. It is fun to fly. It's a pilot's plane.
I just tapped it once.
Yeah, that's what I was starting to tell you. I forgot about that. When you put in the auto trim, they speed up the trim motor because it's too slow. Otherwise, the auto trim is like, oh, this is taking forever. So what you get now is you just have to stab at it.
I just did that, and it's set.
Yep.
So I flew this 182 that had a KE, the 140. You have to hit all these things. And then, so I hated doing that, even though I had a G1000. It wasn't coupled. It had a separate autopilot. And if you had flaps, you feel like and I was IMC. I added flaps, and it just, because the trim didn't catch up with the trim motor, or with the flaps.
That's interesting because, first of all, the flaps give me a pronounced nose down. The other thing that happens with the flaps...
on a high wing, it gives you nose down.
Right. On the flaps, if I'm on level here and slowed down like I'm landing, and I pull the flaps, it immediately drops into a left bank.
Really?
I don't know if it's something in the electronics or not. I've not chased it down.
Because the P factor a little bit more aero.
It shouldn't do it. It just shouldn't do it at all. But they had a problem before. They've got this VNAV thing, so we're on altitude. Well, we could be on altitude hold. They also have kind of a fake ILS where you set it to say, from wherever I am, fly 3 degrees down and make what I have.
You could do that on this?
Yeah.
Nice.
I have mine set to I want to reach 800 feet above ground level, 2 miles short of the runway.
Okay.
Because from there I can either continue into a final or break into a downwind, depending on the wind, right?
Will it overspeed if you
I have to manage the throttle.
Yeah.
The other thing it would do is it would line me up 100 feet off to the side of the runway, to the left, every single time. And Dynan eventually fixed that. I guess I wasn't the only one that noticed it because it wasn't just me. It would somehow, when it was doing that, it would offset like 100 yards. So you weren't going to hit the runway. They fixed that. I don't know if they've ever done anything. I haven't even tried that for a while. I'd have to slow down a bit to try it again. But as soon as I pull up the flaps, it's the autopilot banks to the left.
I like this.
Yeah, that's the dirt cheap way of doing it. I really ought to get a better one. They're kind of spendy, but I'll fit it into the budget someday, along with a bunch of other things. I got this coming up in August. Transponder check is like $400 on this thing.
Is it really?
They had to buy all new equipment for all the digital stuff, and they're trying to get their money back. And it'll drop down eventually, but it's expensive. I have a pitot leak. They always get stuck on the fact that I have a pitot leak, and then I remind them I'm certified VFR. It doesn't matter. There's a whole lot of air right behind the air that just came in there. It's accurate. You can see it's accurate.
Oh yeah, it's alive. That's for sure.
So I'm not. There's two or three joints in the hose that goes all the way back, because this was, when I started building this, it was a Dynan D180, not a Skyview, not the same thing at all. And this is a van success story. There were about 40 of us caught in between. That, oh man, now they're coming out to Skyview and I'm stuck with a D180. What do? I had not bought the D180 yet. Vance came up and said, you know, there's about 40 of you guys. We're going to build conversion harnesses, so all you got to do, you can leave most of the wiring in. You just add this new little harness. You're going to have some dead wires hanging there, but you're just going to be able to plug it all in. Now, they made a couple mistakes in that. The autopilot disconnect didn't work. There's some wires reversed down there.
Does this work now?
It works now, yeah. They made the effort, and I really appreciated it because this is nothing like a D180. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So, they did right. They make mistakes. They fix their mistakes eventually. They're not selling tens of thousands of these, but they are selling a lot of them.
It's a hell of an airplane, really.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
I think you had fun putting it together.
People thought LSA were going to be like ultralights, you know. That's not a real airplane. Oh, really? I'll take it to Florida and back. Now, one thing I'm going to do here, which is a kind of neat thing you can do, I am going to bring the map screen back. And I'm going to go to back. I'm going to go to map info. And I'm going to get 122.8 is what I want. So I'm going to, let's see. I haven't flown for a while. Let me think this out.
Go ahead.
I'm going to the comm tab. Oops. I'm going to the comm. God. Get up there. Comm tab. Unicom. Tuned it over there. Push it in. And if they had a AWAS, which they don't, I'd push that in as well. And we're still going to PMH. There we go. So now we've got the radio all dialed in. I can go back to screen and turn off the... There we go. Okay. So we're ready for that now. And I try to remind myself always to go back to the top menu so I don't have to start... Where am I? I'm not very good at it.
Electronic?
Yeah, this is for memory updates. They have a port up underneath here, which was a pain in the ass to get in. So I plugged in a hub because at the time I had approach plates and they were on their own separate memory stick. So I could bring up an approach plate and my little airplane would crawl right down the approach.
Do you have ForeFlight? I think you said you used something else.
I used it, but I didn't like paying $100 a year for it. I don't like to subscribe to software. I'd rather just own it. So I have the iFly for redundancy. The flight planning for me is pretty straightforward. I'm not taking long trips. When I do take long trips...
But you took this to Florida.
I did that in 2.5-hour legs. And they were almost all direct-tos. I mean, there's really... If I need to add a waypoint, I can. I've forgotten how.
Well, if you fly out west like Colorado, you got to go.
Yeah. Well, even the Panhandle, you really got to watch yourself. So I did have a route down to there. It's not hard to do. I just really don't have a reason to. I think do we want to watch on the map is there is a, well, we're going to go through an MOA, but that's no big deal.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm looking around too. I'm enjoying the view. You know, this is a lot of visibility. I'm not used to seeing this in a while. I used to fly helicopters a lot. I haven't flown a helicopter in a few years, and I kind of feel like I'm almost back doing that.
I want to try it. I think there's a guy at Bolton now that does dual. I'm not sure. He has it's either a Hughes or a Robinson. I think it's a Hughes, the piston engine. And I really just want a half an hour. Because I've been flying helicopter simulators on the computer for years and years, and they're getting so realistic that they're hard to fly. So I'm thinking they must be getting pretty close. I would just like to hover around for half an hour just to try it, to know what it really feels like, and then go back to the sims.
Good old Ross County.
A stone's throw from Pickaway.
Yeah, I know it's
Why do you
tough.
build an airport 5 miles from another airport?
3 miles to the east, doing a 45 entry to the left downwind, runway 20.
I'd like to kayak down this, but finding places you can get on and off the river is difficult. That's, it's all private property. And then I'd need somebody to pick me up. And then I'd need for my back not to hurt when I'm in the kayak for 20 minutes. Kills my back.
So the Great Seal State Park is here. This is the mountains you see in the Great Seal of Ohio.
Didn't know
Have you
that.
ever seen that? Yeah, these are the actual mountain range, and the Great Seal Park's here. So anyway, I think they just passed the bill. They want to change the Great Seal of Ohio and add the Wright brothers plane coming out of that valley right there.
Oh, that'd be neat.
Yeah, it's going to have a Wright flyer coming at you.
Horribly
Over
historically inaccurate, but sure.
No, yeah, right. And so they want to add that to kind of throw the aviation spin to our Great Seal.
I'm in favor. Tell me a little bit more about that, because that's interesting.
So over at Syracuse, New York, it's Hancock Air Force Base, and what they do is they cannot fly in the civilian airspace without an escort. So they either have to get above, I forgot how many feet high, or in an MOA. So they operate 2 MOAs out over Lake Ontario or over Fort Drum. So I got to fly about 50 or 60 nautical miles to escort them. I have to let them know there's targets. I have to let them know if they're going in the clouds. They're not allowed to go IMC. And
do they slow you down at all, or are they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I flew a turbo 182, so I could keep up with them on the climb. And so that was really good.
Climb
The
is good,
turbo's
cruise
awesome.
is slow. That's an RV-12.
Yeah, it could cruise fast, but they just, because of the airspace anyway.
Because there's probably a lag on the guy operating it. There's some kind of lag.
Well, it's real trippy because where the tail fins are has our identification numbers, and it's really small. So the colonel that was in charge of program said we probably wouldn't want it. None of us are probably would dare to get close enough to read those numbers. And I go, I've done formation flying. I'll do it, and I did. So it's a turbine motor, rear prop. And I just get right underneath. And they're hard to see because their wheels tuck in. It looks like a Q-tip or a popsicle stick.
Well, and they paint airplanes to make them disappear in the sky, which is
they
like,
do.
I guess makes sense for the military, but for civilians, it's like, thanks a lot.
Yeah, one of the 182s I fly, Civil Air Patrol, they're normally red, white, and blue, but this one was gray. It was in Afghanistan because it escorted them in and out of areas too.
Yeah, makes sense.
It still had sand in the tanks. They call it the Taliban Turbo. So we're out there, we're escorting them, and they climb like crazy, and you need that turbo. And
Now, they can go high up, though, right? A high lift wing?
yeah,
That's
so
why.
yeah,
It's like a glider, motor glider.
Oh yeah, it's kind of creepy. They have to use every bit of the runway. They don't have to, but the airport, they have restrictions to the FAA. So I could do an intersection takeoff, and I'll spin up to 3,000 and wait for them to come up. And but as we're taxiing, it's kind of creepy. You see that ball, the observer's staring at you, and it follows you, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of.
Look at me! Stop looking at me!
Right,
I
yeah.
know the visibility thing, Springfield, when they had the F-16s, if they don't still, I always told people, if you see one, don't stare at it because there's another one right behind them, and you're not seeing them.
No, right, correct. They do fly in pairs.
Yep, at least.
And
left traffic for runway 10.
so it was kind of nice. You escort them, you drop them off, and you tell them it's clear to their area. We go about 12 miles from the shoreline because we're about 8,000 feet or whatever, and they go out, and then they'll play for hours.
I would think, yeah.
And we got to go and
They
take
loiter.
off and pick them up.
Well, that's the whole point of them is loitering time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd have F4 spinning around or something.
Well, they'll take turns flying them, the guys that are in the
Well,
brew.
they're training. Yeah, they're training.
Yeah, so they'll take turns, and they always have one doing touch and goes, and they'll have 2 or 3 out in the air, and it's fun.
Nothing against them, but I mean, I think if I went in the Air Force to be a pilot and I got put in drones, I'd feel a little disappointed.
Well, some of them are former pilots of aircraft. One guy was a B-52 driver for about 20 years.
Oh, he's used to non-responsive men.
There you go, yeah. No, he seems to like it. They're a good group of guys. I had a lot of fun. One of the planes couldn't pick up the second or third drone, and it was kind of cool. I went to pick them both up. We're in formation flight. I'm there with 2 or 3 drones. I got some good pictures and stuff. I'm not allowed to post.
Well, yeah. I'd clarify a little. I wouldn't be opposed to flying a drone. It just would be my second choice.
Yeah. So they're busy. They do a lot of good work there. Good people. It was kind of odd. The first day I was there was protesters across the post or the base entrance. Drones kill babies. And, you know, the peaceniks.
So do anti-vaxxers, but they don't seem to bond it.
No,
I just had to throw that. Well, not everybody sees things the same way.
Northbound traffic, destination 4 miles, it was a 5-mile final.
Yeah, they're lawyer. They must be a lawyer for quite a while.
Oh, no, they do. They'll go up some of them. I forgot how many hours.
So have they replaced the TR-1 then? That was what they tried to do with the U-2s is they put a much longer wing on them and they called it TR for tactical recon. And they'd set up a triangle of them just orbiting around doing all kinds of electronic stuff. It seems like the drones could do that now, although probably not at 80,000 feet.
No, they don't go that high, but it's fun.
Yeah,
so I had a lot of fun. I did a lot of flying. Yeah, I did a lot of flying, and it's beautiful there upstate New York. It's gorgeous.
I wouldn't think they respond all that quickly. They're not going to do anything sudden on you, right?
Well, they do. So when we depart the airport, I'd say when we're about 20 miles out, they'll switch from the high radio frequency for controls to the satellite. And no one warned me this. All of a sudden, it was going, and I'm like, what the heck? And it's switching. It does a quick control check when it switches to satellite.
Yeah. Are these controls working? And I might get in a good signal.
But I didn't know that. I was pretty close, and I thought he was going crazy.
They might have let you know.
Yeah. So I'm like, what the heck?
I mean, it's not like you're talking to them. I mean, hey, by the way, we're going to kick on. You know, you might want to know that in case something goes really wacky right next to you.
Well, we have an observer in the right seat talking to the drone pilots.
Okay.
And
so you're a crew too.
Yeah, and then I'm talking to ATC, and I could speak to the drone pilots through ATC because sometimes we'll have black spots.
You wouldn't intuitively realize that that's even going on. You know, you thought a drone, that's out there all by itself. I would have never thought there was somebody escorting it. They got a big, huge, is it just a big MOA they're heading towards?
Yeah, it's like, because it pretty much encompasses the entire border. You know, one thing, and I like to look this up, it's kind of the thing I've been trying to do. When you get at a certain low altitude around the shoreline of Lake Ontario, and it's even on the VFR charts, there's some phenomenon that makes magnetic compasses not work.
You'd want to know that.
Totally.
Now here comes that nose down.
Okay.
And then I typically just trim for takeoff, and that gives me a real nice approach glide. Is he still behind us? Yeah, he's headed away from us now. Okay, we're better.
That's traffic warrior 750. Uniform is Campy inbound on the VORDME Alpha, going to be a low approach only.
Portsmouth packet, 284 Delta Golf, final 18, full stop, Portsmouth.
A lot of planes here. I guess Monday is like a big lunch day at Portsmouth.
Well, the weather too is really good.
Don't people work anymore? All right, so this is about 70, and that's still a little quick. Your foot to slip off the rudder pedal.
Absolutely.
Flaps up.
Okay, so what is that, 5,000?
Well, that's 4,000, but generally what I do is here, this is just a brain dead check. I take it, just give it a quick pop, each one.
Go right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter which one. Just, no, with the switches, I'm sorry. Just one at a time. There you go. One more. There you go. You can tell all you need from that. Okay. Yeah, the switch was not going to do what you want. The switch was going to turn it off.
Portsmouth traffic, experimental 284 Delta Golf, taking runway 18 for departure, Portsmouth.
I can't talk to whoever that is right now.
Okay.
There's a man, that's a full house phone number, 888-3333.
I don't know. Just be on the controls with me since it's my first time.
Okay. It's not going to be a whole lot of, you know, it's going to go, you know, like it always does. You're going to need a little bit of right rudder, but not a lot. And like I said before, I have the stick back, and when you start feeling that pressure is when you can start drifting off of the brakes and onto the rudder.
And you firewall the throttle?
Yeah. And the nose is going to come up in about 120, 200 feet anyway. You'll just have to ease off and just keep the nose up. It's like a soft field. You're doing a soft field takeoff. slap her on in there. There you go. All the way. There you go. There. Now you got rudder. That's going to fly off by itself. You don't even have to think about it. Just let it fly off. There you go. Perfect.
Felt good.
Ah, help me. There. On almost every U2, halfway down the runway, you'll see me reach out and adjust the squelch. Fly down the river if you want. We're not in any hurry. Yeah, full tank. Plenty of gas. It's right there.
Portsmouth traffic, experimental 28 Delta Golf. Just heading south of the field. Portsmouth.
Oh yeah, you have to hold that down for a few seconds and it'll pop on. You'll hear it.
Oh, much better.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you about that.
Oh, no, that's all right.
That had to be pretty loud. They do nothing without the noise reduction on. Well, there's a lot of barge traffic down here. Looks like there are 3 of them in a row. Went down to Gallipolis once. You can go across to, I think it's Point Pleasant, West Virginia. They have a steamboat museum there, which is interesting in and of itself, but on the second floor, they have a barge simulator. They train people to drive these barges. So, and they let us do the barge simulator. I immediately ran a barge into another barge because they don't turn. I'm like full, and it's just not turning, and bam, right into another barge. Good thing it was a simulator. That was very interesting. Oh wow, they really had to cut a lot of that out.
Look at it.
There's
wow.
another. There's 2 of the bridges right there out of the 26.
And it's going right down there.
Yeah, it goes right on back down into 23.
So when I took some flight training at Kent State, we would buzz the barges on Lake Erie.
Oh, bet they enjoyed that.
No, they'd hit the horn and you'd hear it through the air.
It's busy. There's 4 up today. I'm just fascinated by river commerce, anything on the river. Let's see. I got a phone message that I'm not going to listen to. Camera?
Inbound for 4,002.
I swear, anytime I pick up a camera, the weather does this. It can be glass smooth, and I pick up a camera. You want some turbulence? Here, let me get my camera.
All right, let me go make a left when you're ready. Okay, I'm going to make a left turn.
Okay.
Boy, she is light on the controls.
Yes, very light. You get used to it. You get to where you like it. It's really only an issue if you want to, if you're like, I don't think it'd be a very good instrument platform, especially without the autopilot. It's just it just doesn't have enough neutral stability to be constantly fighting it.
I like this, actually.
This, I always, I remember going to Oshkosh when I had a steam gauge in the RV6 and looking at these when they first came out thinking, I'll never have one of these. Because to put it in the 6 would just been a total redo. I would have had to tear out the whole panel. And before you know it, it's 25 grand. It's like, well, no, not worth it. Yeah, that's that thing it does. That's just reflecting on us for some reason.
It does that in the Civil Overture.
Oh, good. I thought it was maybe because I put the antenna in a bad spot.
No, it'll do that. Look, that was a tight turn, I tell you. That was nice. I'm not even trying.
Yep, it's easy to fly. It feels like it wants to fly. So, I like it. No. Well, I mean, it's a travel plane VFR. I can travel.
Have you taken this to Oshkosh, or?
No, I took the 6 to Oshkosh. I think it was my 4th or 5th solo landing in a tail dragger. It was Oshkosh, which was a stupid thing to do.
But it worked out well, I'm sure, right?
It was a nightmare. I got to Ripon, and when I got to Ripon, this is back before they had you orbited down around the lake, you went around Ripon. And it had been closed for half an hour, 45 minutes. There were hundreds of airplanes there, not all of them going counterclockwise, some coming the other way. And I was in the RV6, dozens of airplanes everywhere. And every time we got close to where you would break off to go in, I slowed way down. I'm doing like 65 knots. Come on, open up. It was like musical chairs. As soon as I went past, I floored it and got back around and it slowed down. And this went on and on and on. And just, I mean, airplanes everywhere. I had to buy new seat cushions. They were crimped. I mean, it was just awful. So finally, I had just gone by when I said, all right, guys, we're going to open it up. First in line, come on in. And I was passed. But I looked behind me. It was a Taylor craft who was doing like 65, 70 miles an hour full. I said, screw that. I just went back in front of him. So I'm at my 90 knots, cruising along, thinking, finally, all the stupidity is done. Guy goes flying over me in a BD-5. By 100 feet over me, just cooking along, 120 some knots. They're hollering at him on the radio. He just keeps going. I'm like, this is great. So I finally get there. They clear me to land on 36 left. I look off to the right. There's a B-17 on final for 36 left. There's a B-17 on the runway on 36 left. And I said, are you sure? And they said, no, you better make that 36 right. I said, okay, 36 right. They said, middle dot. And I looked at 36 right, and it was a taxiway with spray paint 36R on it and circles. So I got to land. This is like my fourth solo landing in a tail dragger. And I'm landing in front of a few hundred thousand.
On pavement.
Few 100,000 people. And I got to land on the middle dot. So I did it. It was a pretty good landing. I get off, and I had to wait for about 5 B-17s to taxi away. And then I'm taxiing along, kind of looking for a parking spot, and I look up, and there's this guy in a golf cart right in front of my wing. I almost ran him over. I thought, what is that idiot doing? I almost ran him over. And I finally saw a spot, so I went down there and parked. I get out of the plane. He comes barreling down on that golf cart. You were supposed to follow me. I said, man, if that's the worst thing I did all day, I'm happy.
Under that circumstance, that is true.
I'm happy. And I've never flown back again because you're kind of stuck at the
airport. How long ago was that?
Well, it was the RV-6 that I had for 7 years. It was a good 10 years at least.
Bolt Tower, that's experimental 284 Delta Golf.
Poland 284 Delta Golf, Bolton Tower, how can I help you?
Experimental 284 Delta Golf, about 8 miles south-southeast, land, full stop.
Experimental 4 Delta Golf, enter a left on runway 22, report midfield, wind is 18006, altimeter is 3020.
3020, report midfield, left downwind, runway 22, experimental 284 Delta Golf.
They're going to be like, who is that guy? Because they used to act, I would have been Bolt Tower, 284 Delta Golf, 8 miles south, inbound landing. That would have been it. I found last year I started talking a little bit slower because I was talking too fast for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got to where I was just, and you know, that's an issue. I don't know why, it's just the way I am. And I get those words out, you know, but last summer I consciously started slowing down.
And
they were when I talked, because they were missing things. You know, I was talking too fast. Just like if they talked to me too fast. Like, you're going to have to say that again. So I just slowed it down a little bit. Habits. You just get into habits. Landfill, they're starting a new spot. That landfill has just grown and grown and grown.
Oh yeah, and it's getting taller and taller.
Yeah, they're starting a new spot for it. They're dredging it out right now.
I always wonder if they're going to make it like a ski resort or something.
Well, this is as far as they can go before they start running into actual buildings and things other people own.
We call it Mount Trashmore.
Yeah. Well, I like the perpetual fart flame, but that's pretty good too. Actually, I can't. I don't think it's burning today.
So downwind, you like what, 80 and
yeah, that'll
70?
be fine. That'll be fine. Let's do like 80, 70, 60. No, 80 on downwind, 70 on base, 65, 60 or 65. Both are comfortable.
Bolton Towers, experimental 284 Delta Golf, midfield left downwind 22, landing full stop.
Yeah, midfield ish.
Experimental 4 Delta Golf, Bolton Tower, runway 22, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 22, experimental 284 Delta Golf.
That 22 was him looking for us. All right, get your flaps down.
Go ahead and get them down, you said?
Yep. So let me do it. Are you ready?
Yep.
Because it's hard to get that knob to work until you figure out how. You pinch your skin with it. It's got this little flange here. Ow!
I'll pull some power. You want a balloon on me still with the flap.
Yep. Okay, get your airspeed up, your overspeed the flaps.
Let's go higher.
There you go. Looking good. Lower down a bit. Feel free to pull that throttle on out. It'll
Yeah,
glide
it's all
from
the
here.
way out, I
Oh, is
think.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's all you get then, so manage it. You got a mile-long runway, you need 1,000 yards or 1,000 feet. Good.
It's just I'm descending.
Yeah, you're coming down like a brick. And, you know, Alpha 3 is way the hell down there now, too, so you got tons of room. So no panic.
All right, I'll just slip it a little bit, and
It'll do
then
it.
I'll just...
Flip it a lot a bit if you want. We'll do it. There you go. There you go. Like a little bit of left crosswind, and that's about it. Alright, it's going to float for a little bit. Kind of high. Go a little high. There you go. Let her come down. Let her come down. There you go. Now, go ahead and air brake if you want. Okay, you're good.
I'm air braking it.
Good. And you should. It's the nose wheel is the most, well, other than the canopy, most delicate thing on this airplane.
Oh, that wasn't too bad.
He should give you
4 Delta Golf, exited Alpha 3, taxi to parking via Alpha and Charlie, monitor ground, point 8 on the way in.
Alpha 3, monitor ground.
Alpha to Charlie.
Alpha to Charlie, experimental 284 Delta Golf.
There you go. It's road.
Why is my brake?
What's wrong?
Okay, no. I had my foot too high up.
Oh,
Okay.
you were pushing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably pushing against solid metal then.
Yeah. Like, what the hell? Yeah, I got
There's-
size 14 shoes.
Yeah,
so.
and there's a bunch of airplane up there.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, what the heck? Brake's a little soft.
All right, this is where you get that
Go
nice,
ahead.
refreshing breath of fresh air.